Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Gamilla, and I'm the programming director of ImageOut. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for choosing to watch Cicada. And we have a special treat for you because we have some important people from the film who are joining us for a Q&A. So let me introduce you to our guest. First is Matt Fifer, who is the co-writer and the co-director and actor and editor and producer. I'm like, you just did everything. I hope you paid yourself well.
Oh, well, I couldn't have done it without my huge team who's here right now. Some of us are
Yeah.
here.
Let me introduce Kieran Mulcare, who is the co-director. Hi, Kieran.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for joining us. And we also have Jeremy Truong, who is he's the editor, right?
I'm producer.
Producer.
Yeah. Oh, you're a producer. Okay. Well, welcome to Image Out. I'm so glad you could join us tonight. And I just feel like this film has a lot. After watching it, I feel like you have to unpack because there's so many layers to it. But probably just let me start with you, Matt, because you co-wrote it, and this is you wrote this, and I've heard and I've read it. This is autobiographical, right? So, what? And there's so many things going on. How much of it is really your story, and why?
Good question, Michael. Why? Yeah, why? It's basically a few events in my life told over the course of one summer. And the biggest difference is that the person who did it wasn't my stepfather, but it was somebody that my family knew. And like most cases are 90% of them, 90% of the victims of child sexual abuse are perpetrated by somebody in the family or somebody that the family knows. Aside from that, yeah, do you have specific questions? what parts?
No, I was wondering. I mean, there's so much in this film, and it's like, is this the first time that you've talked about um, some of the problems that you've had that you've been carrying over the years? I feel like you're sharing a secret to the public. Is that how it felt for you when you were writing it and making this movie?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a secret for 13 years of my life. I tried to tell somebody when I was 12 or 13, I guess, and they laughed because everything I said at that point was a joke. So it was very important for me to have humor in this film because it's always been a big part of my life. But yeah, it was a secret that I had kept for a very long time, and I knew that just in telling people in my own circle that they came out about their own abuse with being transparent, and that transparency is a really powerful thing. So I hope that this film at least gets maybe somebody in Rochester to come out about their abuse.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to paint the film as just depressing and super heavy because it is, like you said, there are a lot of light moments in it, and it's also very heartwarming. I mean, there's a lot of gravity in what you're telling in the story, but it is still heartwarming. So I am interested in you having a co-director in the with Kieran, because I know you wrote the film, and when I see someone writing a film and then who's also the director and opts to co-direct it, does that mean that you feel like you need help in telling your story, or or you feel like you want another input in telling your story? I just want to know how this collaboration started.
Yeah, so Kieran is the reason I'm acting in this. I think Kieran, uh, Kieran can tell the story about how he came to be a part of this, but I would not be anywhere without him. He is the Ben Whisperer. He gave me confidence on set every single day. We meditated every day. Um, so many of the beautiful performances are his doing, and so anyway, Kieran.
Well, I can't take credit for virtually any of that. We did meditate together a lot. The performances are all they're doing, really. But I had fun helping pull things together. And help was my role, just helping. Matt had written this, what I thought was a masterpiece, and I had never directed anything. I'm an actor. But I'd been curious about directing, but I was sure that this was not what I was going to what's the phrase? Break my nails. I don't know what that phrase is. You know, it's not. I didn't want this to be my first one because I thought it was one of the best scripts I'd ever read. And Matt and I met Matt. I kind of fan geeked out on Matt after I saw a series he had made and a web series a few years before called Jane and Pluto. So we connected on social media, and I connected him with my acting teacher, Michael Patton. We were in class at the same time, and I was working on a scene from a play about childhood sexual abuse, about coming to terms with it as an adult. And I was open about my own childhood sexual abuse and coming to terms with that. And so Matt and I connected on that years before. We collaborated on a short film together, me as an actor, him as a director. And then he presented this script to me and asked if I'd be interested in directing it with him. And I took a risk and said yes, and I'm very grateful. But it's his story, you know, and that was the big thing. The collaboration worked because I was aware that it's his story, and Sheldon's as well, who wrote his character in the piece largely, and so you know, co is a very apt title, just kind of assisting them in doing that. And Jeremy pulled it all together more than any of us.
Yeah, Jeremy pulled it all together. Look at Jeremy.
Hi. I was pretty much, I was there to be support.
The cheerleader.
Right. Because everyone on this movie was doing everything. So it was just, you know, it was a lot of like making sure people had what they needed, but also, you know, like Matt as a director is also the writer and the actor and like was partially the producer. So it just made it such that he was oftentimes like doing a million things at once. So it was a lot of collaboration for sure.
So just a follow up, Kieran, because you're telling Matt's story, did you feel a certain responsibility in making sure that it's also handled correctly? Because you know him and he's a friend, and it's a big, you know, he gave you a big task, like, here, I'm telling my story. So, you know, asking you to handle it for him.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, artistic truth and biographical truth are two different things. And so what I appreciated was the wide berth that Matt gave me in being creative with this, you know, creating circumstances that would make characters come to life that were different from the biographical circumstances. Analogy is really, you don't get many autobiographical works that don't have a large degree of analogy involved. And so Matt already wrote a lot of analogy into the script, even though it was based on his lived experience. And he let me work with the actors as needed to fill in all the details that were completely invented by, you know, the individual actor and me. But I did feel that responsibility. And speaking for my, you know, directing is a funny thing when you're used to acting, because you're your creative forces are externalized entirely. You know, it's not through you. It's at through other people. And so speaking for my own child, you know, it was a real privilege to be able to do that. And halfway through, Matt was like, "We need to keep this going. We should do something else. What do you want to do after this?" And I couldn't think of a better thing to work on. It was a nice feeling because I was like, wow, there was not a better baptism into directing than, you know, getting to do this.
I don't want to say did it help, but did it affect the way you directed the film with Matt because of your experience? Because you mentioned earlier that you also have a sexual abuse in your past.
Yeah, definitely. Because what he said when he talked about I've had that experience too of being open about it and it being laughed at. And I had several instances within and outside my family, and even found out even more between wrapping this production and its release. So it's it's a strange part of the lens through which I see the world and interpret things that, you know, is still healing. It is healing, and I hope that the film carries a message of hope for healing for, you know, adult survivors. But we talked a lot about the throat chakra, which is, you know, the center of communication and creativity, and that being so closed up in Ben's character, and this journey, and in Sam's as well, and, you know, living his own truth, and this being a journey about opening that up and the healing that's possible through that. And more of it's with the heart chakra.
Oh, are we gonna meditate now?
Yeah.
Just kidding. So Matt, no, you mentioned Kieran mentioned Sam and the character of Sam that Sheldon wrote. How did that change the way you wrote the film? Because I imagine it probably was different before Sheldon came into the picture, right? How much of it was changed?
Yeah, it was. This is why Kyle needs to come in here now, because so much of the script we shot, and we had about 40 minutes in the intro that was before Sheldon even came in, Sam's character. So it's yeah, it was really, you know, what they say, that the story dies on the page and it's reborn in the performance, and then it dies again and is reborn in the editing. And it really was reborn in the editing. Is Kyle there? Does Kyle want to come in?
Kyle's here. Kyle's here.
Kyle.
Oh, is Kyle here in the background? In the backstage?
He's like literally here.
Oh, right next to you, you mean?
Oh, can we not hear because of the headphones?
You could hear. He can't hear us.
Oh,
Okay. So so basically, I thought about Sheldon from the beginning. I wrote this in about a month in January of 2018, and I had him in mind from the very beginning. We had met in 2015. We had a similar date to how Sam and Ben meet, and he was. It was very important for me that he was a part of this. He's also gorgeous, and he can sing, and you know, he's just wonderful. And I wish he was here right now. But 2 months to the day from meeting up with him in April, he had been shot, and it changed the project overnight. And yeah, I really wish he was here to tell the story, but he does tell it on screen. As he tells it on screen is how it happened. And somehow 3 months later, he came to New York to make this film with his scars and his ostomy. And somehow that all happened with these two, Kieran and Jeremy. Yeah.
So I mean, it's probably a very not serious, but having all that in the set and having all the traumatic experiences, it's I that set is probably very powerful. The energy is very different. Um, but and it came across. What I like about the film is, even though there's a lot of issues involved, and you and your hypochondria and all that, um, there's not really a whole lot of melodrama, because it could easily get melodramatic between the two of you and your experiences. So in a way, I like that, because it feels more relatable. Because normal people, we all have our issues, we all have our problems, but it it's not always it blows up into big melodrama. So, and that's what I like about your film.
Thank you.
Even though yeah, so it makes it more relatable for me. So how did it feel? Was it liberating for you to tell this story and making this film?
Absolutely.
I mean, because yeah, I feel like this is the first time, or that you really talked about it publicly.
Yeah, it's been a mixed bag for sure. Not being able to go to theaters, like not being able to be with you right now, and not being able to hug people, has made it a little strange. And yeah, we're just in the beginning of this, so we've already had people reach out in the DMs and Instagram and tell us that this film meant so much to them, and that they had also been abused as children, or that they were in interracial relationships, or any number of things. And I wish I could read one to you right now, but I didn't ask for his permission, so I won't. But it's been really sweet, and I really can't wait for what this year will hold.
Did we lose Michael for a sec?
Are we frozen?
I think we did freeze.
Oh.
I do want to say that it is a testament to Matt's what.
Are you back, Michael?
You froze,
Yes.
Michael.
Am
Okay.
I?
Hi.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Am
now,
I back?
Yeah.
You're back.
I was just saying it's a testament to Matt. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We do it. The funniness, the wit is Matt's doing, and the bravery was so largely Sheldon's, because he was dealing with wounds that were so fresh that we have the luxury of time to really have the distance of time between our wounds, which doesn't always help, but it is something. And Sheldon did not have that cushion, and so to do that as an artist is really amazing, commendable, and brave, and it seems impossible to me anyway, but he did it. So he's not here to take all this adulation, unfortunately.
So there's a comment, because it relates to Sheldon and Sam, the character. And the comment says, specifically, I really appreciated from Sam from how Sam called Ben out after. There it is on screen.
I'm glad that felt authentic. Yeah,
and in a way that felt authentic to 2013 as opposed to 2020. Oh, it's from Jeff, a friend of mine who's in Georgia. I just saw the handle. But anyway, was it a conscious decision to decide that to have an interracial gay couple in the film?
Yeah, it was from the very beginning. It was always going to be an interracial relationship. So much of the queer canon is between two white men, often played by straight actors. And it was very important for Kieran and I and Jeremy to cast not only other queer actors and queer crew, but obviously Sheldon and all the people of color we have in the film.
That's also what makes it relatable. But you know, it's probably expected me to talk about the first 8 minutes of the film, where I rewatched that before the Q&A. I felt like, from what I remember, there's so much more sex, but when I rewatch it again, it's not so much, because I think when you watch it the first time, it's just so much more shocking. Like, whoa, like, and it was not just kissing or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, we're seeing all kinds of things in here. And then the flavor of men and of people, not just men, that you showed was just like a wide range of variety. And I feel like it's Ben's character just escaping. And, for him, it's just a connection more than anything else. It's not that it's not well, it is meaningless sex, but it's really more just either you're running away from your life and you just wanted some physical connection, like even for the tiny bit of moment. But it also established the character very well. But with starting with that, though, I felt like I was cheated. Like I was fooled. I was like ready to the film to be something different. Not that I grabbed a box of Kleenex or anything, but it was just like, oh, when it started to get serious, I'm like, okay, this is where we want to go. Well, was that intentional to grab people's attention and reel them in, and then just start dropping all these dramatic bombs on them?
Yeah, well, doesn't all sex start with like it's like really sexy and then it always ends in tears? I'm joking.
Is that a song?
What?
It sounded like a song, anyway.
Yes. I think it's Train. Train has a song like that. Yes, I wanted Ben to have. I was writing my own experiences, so it wasn't like nothing was contrived. I was just trying to explain what I was going through, and then there to be a dichotomy between the beginning and the end, where like when I meet Sam, when the character meets Sam, they don't have sex when they first meet, and they share that moment of intimacy, which needs to be highlighted from the beginning. But I do know that a lot of survivors of child sexual abuse, the rates of them being abused again as teens and young adults and even into adulthood is quite high, and there are a number of reasons why. So I hope that feels authentic to people watching it right now.
Also, Matt has a very good sense of structure that he also brought into his involvement in the editing process, and so I've read other works of his, and I think a lot of it is just intuitive, natural to him, that he understands how to arrange a narrative in that way. But I really appreciate the sex in this film, because I think a lot of people don't understand, who haven't experienced childhood sexual abuse, don't necessarily understand how big a deal consensual sex is to, the individuation of that person who's been through non-consensual sex as a child. It's an empowering and beautiful thing. So I'm glad it's there.
Ultimately, I really just wanted Kyle, our editor, to have to sit through hours of sex.
There was a lot more to begin with, honestly. Like it feels like a decent amount now, but I mean, we must have cut it down by like at least half. So,
maybe you can compile for the DVD for the director's cut or something.
Yeah,
doing extras, an extra section.
Well, since we have Jeremy talking, there's a lot of cameos in this film. And as a producer, did you bring all these people in? You have David Burka and Obi Smulders, and I mean, Kieran is also an actor, so you probably are also well connected there. And I feel like having all those cameos makes this film even more like a collaboration, and like labor of love, because you're asking your friends to come and pitch in and all that. Is that what happened?
Yeah, like pretty much everyone in the film is like someone that either Matt or Kieran or any of our friends, even like personal friends of ours, and that's sort of just how we had to make the film. Like we got quite lucky in that sense that I think people were quite responsive to the script and really wanted to contribute and be a part of it. And obviously, like with the rate that we were shooting in a really intense schedule and very quickly. We would have people come in and we would do these few hour-long scenes, and we would have these like sort of nice like smaller moments. But at the same time, it was really quite important, I think, to have them in there, because I don't know if you noticed, but it's like mostly comedians. Like
Yes.
A lot of them are quite funny, and I think that definitely makes a huge difference in the overall tone of the film.
Yeah, and Michael Potts was the only one we did not know personally out of those cameos or those other roles. And I was just a fan. I had seen him in Jitney on Broadway and was like, I have to work with that man. You have to cast this man. And so he was the only offer that we made, to someone we didn't personally know. That's right? Everyone else?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
He's going to be in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, coming out of Netflix in December. And he's worth looking out for.
Yeah, everyone's just really big. For sure.
Well, I'm glad it all worked out. But Kieran, you mentioned earlier that you had to look up Matt, and I felt the same. After watching the movie, because I feel like, especially in those early scenes, it's like, who is this Adonis that like, how do we not know him yet? And even right after the film, and then seeing all the credits and everything that you did, oh my God, he's so talented. What else has he done? And why is he just showing up now? Yeah, so where have you been, Matt? What have you, where have you been hiding all this time?
So sweet of you. I don't know, Kieran, do you want to answer?
Well, he's hiding under a rock in Bushwick and Long Island, where before that, he writes a lot. He wasn't. I had to pull. It did take a long conversation to get him to agree to play this role, and I was like, "You have to play this role. It's you." I don't know if I can take credit for really being the one who convinced him to do that, but I did, do my part in convincing him that he had to play this role. So this was a really big acting move for him, but I've always believed in him as an actor. And as a creator, that was the first thing I knew about him, was his talent. So I don't know, but he's out there now. We can all be grateful.
Yeah, and Matt had done something like right before as well, like a web series that we had worked on, and the timing for it just kind of worked out such that we immediately went right into like shooting Cicada, and that kind of just took over. So I think there's just a bunch of stuff that kind of like merged into one big year.
So when you first doing the film, you weren't planning on acting in it, Matt? Is that the case?
It was definitely predicated on a few things, but it was always a matter of like keeping the budget tight, and then once Kieran came on board, it was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Yeah.
Well, it probably even made the film more personal because you're in it. It's like you telling your story. And it just, it's like you feel naked in the film. I mean, literally, and just vulnerable and all that. So it was good. And sometimes nowadays, if there's a good part that you could write for yourself, why not, right?
Those were actually body doubles. So,
no, don't make me ask you to take your shirt off.
Yeah, we hired a secondary Matt so that Matt could do all the other things that he's supposed to be doing on that set.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably the one line that I get most comment on was when your sister said, "You're back on the deck." Did you write that line?
Yep.
Yeah, that one made it through all the cuts. That line.
Yeah.
Jasmine Grimaldi. She is also phenomenal. She was in it so much, and then we had to cut things for time. But she's a brilliant actress. Look her up on Instagram. She also is a gorgeous singer.
So, and Sheldon is also a good singer.
Great singer.
How come you didn't make them sing in the movie?
Oh, he did. He did.
Matt is also such a good singer. We were in the sound booth, and I was like, "You can't sound that good. We got to do something."
But yeah, Sheldon does sing. He, on the piano, the baby grand piano moment.
And
Sheldon,
Oh yeah. This is this is one of the first films that I watch in the season because I'm good friends with Jeffrey, so he sent it to me right away.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm just so excited to have a new queer voice in the industry because I've done the film festival circuit for this is my 18th year, and it's always nice to welcome someone who has a clear vision of what he wants to do. I mean, for this film anyway, and it's always great to have those new voices emerge because, like you said, sometimes it's all the same story that's getting thrown at us. So it's exciting to have you. But what is your next project? Having said all that, I'm putting pressure on you now that you're the new queer voice. So what is your next project?
Thank you. Well, Kieran and I are working on a queer horror film.
A queer horror? Oh, I love horror.
We are also bringing along another person you might know, Jeremy Truong. So the whole team is getting back together. And we're really excited. We're shooting it this spring, it looks like. So we'll tell you more when we know more.
Oh, you better let me see it. when it, I mean, I even have a sidebar in the festival called ImageOut there for our, like horror and genre films. And we like to highlight them. In the beginning, I put it together because I wanted to warn people about it that, okay, this is not the type of film that you just walk into, but it has become more like a marketing tool because there are some people that are looking exactly for those things. So, well, now I'm excited with after you've told me about this now. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, with the pandemic going on, because weren't you supposed to have your world premiere at BFI Flair? Is that where it's supposed to be? And then it got moved around, and finally, was it at Outfest that you debuted?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
How did you guys feel about that? You have this finished product and you're ready to share it with the world, and suddenly the world says no.
Jeremy, do you want to answer this one?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was sort of a weird moment for us. I think we were very much planning on like obviously being there. And I think Matt canceled his flight like the day before. Like it was the day of that he was supposed to fly out. I think that we heard the festival got canceled.
Right.
That was like the first in a long line of like every other festival that eventually got canceled. So it was a kind of a weird moment for us because we weren't quite sure what to do with it for a while. And a lot of people were going digital at that point, and obviously we never had a physical premiere yet at that point. So it was a little difficult for us, I think, to land on something, but Outfest for us felt like something that we always wanted to attend and something that we felt like we were always going to play. So it just kind of lined up with where everything was at the time. and that kind of kickstarted our festival timeline again. And obviously now we're going back to BFI London in a week. I guess this coming week.
Tomorrow.
Oh, are you?
Tomorrow, yes, on Monday.
The 64th BFI London Film Festival tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. So it's a big full circle
But
moment.
this is even bigger because this is the regular BFI festival. This is not BFI Flair, right?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations. And it's interesting because BFI Flair, when it was happening, it's like it took them forever to decide, no, we're not doing it. It's like all the other festival programmers like, oh, look, London is still doing it. Like, oh my God, how brave, and all that. And then suddenly they just decided, which I think is the right move, but I know a lot of people in your situation where they had to cancel things at the last minute because all the while they thought, it was still a go. But it screwed a lot of people's plans too, because they were planning to do their premieres there. And for all the other big festivals that shut down anyway, not shut down, but got postponed or pivoted to something else.
Right.
Yeah, they were really
anyway,
I think in that section, and a lot of it too. Like the decision was so last minute because I think they did really feel a responsibility to us as filmmakers, and they knew that we were really excited about it. And I think that's why it was such a difficult decision for them to eventually cancel it, because they knew how much it meant to all the filmmakers to really be playing there. And, for us, obviously, that was our world premiere, and we were opening the festival. It was a really big deal for us. So I don't think they really made that decision lightly. I do think it was the right decision in the end, but it was a really sort of sensitive and genuine decision.
Yeah. We could blame Boris Johnson.
We could.
Was there ever a point when you thought, well, maybe we should just hold off?
Yeah, we definitely said no to virtual film festivals between BFI and Outfest. But in terms of waiting an entire year, yeah, we definitely considered it, but no one knows what the spring's going to be like. So yeah, you
might be holding on for it for a while if you did that. So
right.
But also I think some stories just need to be told. It just can't wait. And I think it's one of those films that we needed it right now, and I'm glad you shared it with us. And it's one of the best gay films in this year's lineup, or in this year's selection of all the other festivals. So congratulations on that. But anyway, was there anything else that you wanted to add before we close?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And Sheldon is in here, but Sheldon wanted to be here. He's such a big part of this film. And we're bummed he's not here, but he also wants to thank everyone for watching, I think, and being a part of this journey with us.
And my first girlfriend, college girlfriend, I know, I brought it there. She's from Rochester.
She is. So
watching this right now. Probably not. But
are you still connected to her?
From Wegmans, and I hope everybody watching is eating a garbage plate, because I know there.
The interesting thing is, I've been here for a long time. I haven't had a garbage plate.
Oh my God! How do you even call it Rochesterian?
I know. It just never looked edible to me.
With that name, it doesn't sound appealing. What?
No, I might get flack for it, and maybe I might get delivery of garbage plate here at home, but I hope not.
You just got.
But anyway, well, thank you guys for taking the time in doing this for ImageOut and for Rochester. And again, it really was a sincere comment when I said that I'm excited for the new queer voice that you represent, especially after this film. And you think you're still gonna? I mean, your next project is another collaboration, right? Are you gonna be both directing, Kieran and Matt, this queer horror film?
I think so. Yeah, that's like what we're gonna do.
Well, if it works so well the first time, why not repeat it again, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you guys, and much luck with your next projects. And the film is still playing at ImageOut Virtual Festival, so you still have time to watch it. And don't forget to vote for the film because all of our films are eligible for the Audience Awards. So thank you guys, and have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hey, everyone. Thank you.
Meg.